Okay, let's try this again. There we go. Now it works. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. Tim here, and this is BxJS weekly dev stream, and we are continuing with our new GraphQL framework named Graffiti. Hey, Wise, welcome to the stream. Hey, Swarlow, welcome to the stream. Technical difficulties, blah, blah, I can't even read. What are you talking about, aren't allowed here? I can't even properly read stuff. Hey, Manuel, welcome to the stream. All right, so let me just greet everyone here. Hey, Mr. Reasonable, welcome to the stream. Welcome, guys, welcome. I got a bit overexcited over technical difficulties, but it seems like just some USB issues, I guess. It's just camera stopped working for whatever reason. But anyway, it all works now. So as I've said, we are continuing with our GraphQL framework, right? And before we get into building new things that I have planned for today, I actually want to show you what I did off the screen and show you how cool it actually is when you release it. Hair and beard looking fresh. Thank you. Yes, I just got a nice haircut and I got tired of, maintaining my my long hair, which is just annoying. Hey Knuts, welcome to the stream. Anyway, coming back to the topic at hand. So as I've said, I would work on Graffiti off the stream and I would improve it and make the code a bit nicer before the new stream. This is exactly what I did. So the first thing is that I actually contacted Mr. J Phelps and I got the Graffiti NPM package name handed to me. So the Graffiti is now actually published under npm packages Graffiti, so you can just npm install Graffiti and actually get the package itself. It is at version 0.6 right now. Again, not an awful much there, as the disclaimer here says, is still project under development. But what you can do now, let me just show you, right? So we got this test folder. I'm gonna create make dir, let's call it Graffiti test, and I'm just gonna go into it, right? I'm gonna npm install Graffiti, because this is literally the only thing you have to do. You npm install Graffiti, right? And then you are ready to create your GraphQL API from a very, very simple folder structure. I mean, if you watch the previous stream, you already know what's going to happen, right? But basically, what you need to do is you just create a schema folder, and then you just take this schema, for example, here. Well, no, that's not what I want to press. I want to press the new file. Let's call it node.js. And I'm just going to paste it over here. That is going to dock over here. And then we got our schema, right? So there you go. That's literally all you want. I'm going to run npm init-y because I want the scripts here. And what we're going to put in scripts is we're going to put the start. It's going to be node env production Graffiti. And then we're going to have a dev script, which is going to be Graffiti dev, right? This is literally all you want to do. And now if I do yarn dev, which will start Graffiti, what is going on? Node mon is not. Okay, I guess I screwed something up. I have not actually tried doing that yet, but right, I think I know why. Okay, so we caught a bug. But anyway, if you run that, it should theoretically start the Graffiti itself. Unfortunately, looks like, yes, I've added it. Okay, so those actually should be the direct dependencies, not dev dependencies. Or alternatively, you could say that, okay, we can npm install node mon, and then it should start working, I think, right? So it's either should be defined as a peer dependency or it should be defined as yes, okay. And Pinot Pretty, this is definitely Pinot. I think there should be a better way of doing that. So now I'm thinking, I'm just, the gist is I want to keep the dependencies as small as possible, but I guess those two are not extremely large, so it's probably fine just throwing them in there. Okay, so now we got the development mode, and if I go to localhost 3000, now it's playground actually, so I did some changes, and as you can see here, we can actually get the same nodes, right? The cool part is now we actually get auto refresh. So if I say add another property, which is, I don't know, other string or whatever, right, and hit save, the server will detect the changes here automatically and restart. And if we go here now, we will actually get the auto-completion for the other field, which simplifies the development a lot. Now, if we do yarn start, which will start the production mode, first of all, it does not come with a playground. And second of all, it applies a bunch of other minor things, such as, the login level is decreased, so you no longer see those debug requests and stuff like this, which is just, small, nice convenience feature, I guess. But let us go back to the app itself. Okay, so this was change number 1. Change number 2, the repository is now a monorepo, although, it still literally has one package graffiti here, but what I did is I converted that into a monorepo with examples being a separate packages. So there's now examples folder that includes examples that have, the basic usage, custom resolvers, default queries changes, relations manual, and so on and so forth. Each one of those is, I actually should probably add them here. Why are they not here? There's another issue that I've caught. So custom resolvers, and you can literally just run any of those as an example, right? And it will actually work. The other cool thing about those example folders is that they are actually used as tests. So there's now test suites, and each one of those examples is now a test suite that is basically bootstrapped as proper server, right? And then there's GraphQL queries that are executed against them to make sure that the GraphQL actually works as expected, right? So this is other thing. There's now a GitHub CI workflow that basically tests and releases it to npm if I do the release version, which is super straightforward. What else did I do? Let me have a look at the releases. There should be some notes here. So there is... All right, I've allowed changing the default methods. So if you remember how we created this... where is it? The type, right? And then we had this by IDs, but one, many, whatever. All of that was enabled by default, right? So now there is config in the schema that you can export where you can say, okay, I actually want to disable all mutations or specific ones. I want to disable specific queries, or again, all of them if you want to. And this is now controlled by person who uses this thing, basically, right? So this is one change. Yes, there is now support for custom resolvers. So if you want your own fancy queries to MongoDB, you can now do that. So you can now export resolvers function that takes in the type definition and model. This is the Mongoose model, and this is the type definition from the GraphQL Compose. And you can add your own resolver that does whatever you want, right? In this case, this is just find one by ID and that's it. But in reality, it can be map reduce aggregations, whatever the hell you want, right? But adding resolver is not enough. You have to register it within the schema. And for that, you got the compose method where you can go there and say, okay, here's the schema composer. I want to add the query that is called node custom by ID in this case. And then it uses this resolver that we defined. So it's just like nice convenience thing that allows you to make everything super flexible. Okay, there's a bunch of test stuff, a bunch of production and dev mode. Yeah, and that's basically it. I think this is basically makes the framework 80% ready. So, I've added some documentation about all of those features here. It's not super extensive, but it's there. I feel like I'm going to need to update it anyway and rewrite that. But the last thing, the last major thing we have left until this can be considered version 1.0, at least by me, and until we can actually use that in the other streams where we build front ends or whatever, is the support for plugins and, at least two specific plugins that I could have think of. The first one is the authentication plugin. So the idea is that, I don't actually want to manually set up Auth for every backend we use and build, and it's a pain in the ass. And this was one of the reasons that I've started building this framework, because I wanted a GraphQL backend with Auth that is easy to set up, right? So this is one. And the second one, I thought it would be fun to try and add next.js plugin so that you can basically have, so right now you got this, schema folder, and then you would have pages folder that would have the next.js in it, so you can have backend and a frontend all in one thing, right? So this is basically the gist of it. So first of all, let me just commit. So git add missing packages to monorepo setup is what I want to do. And then we want to move, so we want to actually move node.mon, okay, yarn workspace, graffiti ads, yes, so that should be node.mon and pretty. They should be direct dependencies, not dev dependencies, because they are required when you actually npm install stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah, so as you can see here, I've also added the engines clause, which limits it to node 14. The reason is that I'm using the, where am I using it? I think I'm using it in GraphQL creation. I'm using the optional chaining and, yes, there you go. So there's optional chaining for the configs that are empty. And I'm also using nullish coalescence for the server startup to figure out the config and the port and host, basically. I don't want to transpile anything. I think it's perfectly fine that we just go with node 14. It's going LTS relatively soon. Should be okay. All right, so we did that. I think we should still be working perfectly fine with tests. Come on, please don't fail. Yes, we're good. Okay, so I am gonna commit, move node.mon and pretty to dependencies. Okay. Fixes usage in dev mode during npm install. Okay, that's good. Right, now we are gonna dive into the plugins bit, I guess. So we need two plugins. I guess let's start with the next.js because I feel like it's gonna be very simple to do. Let's call it graffiti plugin next, right? And that's basically it. I guess I'm just gonna copy this package here just to go package JSON. So we don't actually need all of that stuff here. I'm gonna leave the dependencies empty for now. We don't need keywords for now. Again, I guess we can leave the graffiti plugin and next.js, I guess, something like this, right? We do need test here, and we do need lint here. I guess we won't have any binaries here, and we won't have a start command. So we can kill the bin, we can leave the home page, we can leave the bugs repository, that's all fine. So we're gonna call it 01, and this is gonna be next.js plugin for graffiti framework. And the name should be graffiti plugin next, right? Okay, cool. So what we need to do next is we need to say yarn workspace graffiti plugin next adds next. And what does next actually require? It's been a while since I've set up next from scratch, so we are gonna dive into the docs and see, I think it was next React and React DOM, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah, there you go. So we need all of that. And what's unknown work? Oh, right. I forgot to add the workspace to the list of workspaces because of course I did. Packages, graffiti plugin next. Okay, and now it should start working. There we go. Okay, so we got this stuff. This is going to be purely dependencies of this package, right? Oh yeah, another change I did, I moved out the dev dependencies such as ESLint, prettier, jest, and MongoDB in-memory server to the top level, so that whenever basically the package is published, they are not dragged in development modes, which could be a bit annoying. And I mean, they don't really need to be there anyway because we're linting the whole thing, right? Hey Slavko, welcome to the stream. It's going pretty good. Yes, new GraphQL framework. We started working on it in the last dev stream. We're just expanding there. You can specify packages with a star. Oh, we could. I mean, I still prefer explicit over implicit, but I guess that's fine. Yeah, I guess we can just do that, right? So That should be, I mean, that will save us some place. Okay, so we added this stuff. Hopefully the star thing works fine. All right, so now we need to do what? Now we need to create a folder called lib. We're going to create an index.js in it. And now we need to set up next with Fastify. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into examples. I am going to find the Fastify template here because I know they have it, right? So this is just basic server setup. Then I'm going to copy the whole thing, and then we're going to basically refactor it and throw out things that we don't need, and then just adjust our Graffiti framework to actually consume plugins in the way we want. Okay, so we're not going to instantiate Fastify here. We already have a Fastify server. We don't need ports. We do need dev mode. I guess that's fine. And right, so I guess like one thing we could do is we could just export a plugin here, right? So we got this async. We can await app prepare. Just make it a bit nicer. Okay, do all of that. We don't need this. We don't need that. Let me think. So if we have this thing, right? So Fastify plugin. Right. Yes, I probably missed. So we don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. And we don't need that anymore. Right. There we go. Okay. So basically we defined a Fastify plugin that takes so that you can throw into the Fastify using the fastifier.register that will create a new app instance. I guess it would be good to say, so let's say create Fastify plugin and say that dev comes from here, right? So this creates a plugin, returns it. Get request handler. If so, we wait for the app to prepare. If it's a dev, so we don't need those things, right? We only need this stuff here, and then 404 and next. So that's basically all we need, right? Good to hear that. Have you found investors for the project? And I mentioned a month ago there was some trouble getting the money for the project. Nope, we are still in progress. That's, I mean, that's, you know, not a fast process, and I am not holding my breath basically to it. So yeah, not yet at least. Let me just put it this way. Okay, let me think. So basically, yeah, you know what? I think we can just do, what can we do? So I don't like this function that returns function. It would be a lot nicer to do something else with it. So, okay, let's have a look at the Graffiti itself and how we set up the Fastify. So essentially we want to tap into Fastify over here. So right now we do what? We connect to DB, we create the new instance with preset config, which currently is just the logger. Then we have this schema builder, and then we register our cleanup hook that closes the database. Well, job queue shouldn't even be here. Need database cleanup. That should be this comment. Then we register the GraphQL, and I guess here register. Okay, I guess we're gonna say await server. So we're gonna say that, right? So first we register this database cleanup. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Okay, so we register this server. So this is going to be the cleanup. At the very end, we want to add the GraphQL endpoint. And by the way, another change, I've replaced the Apollo GraphQL server with Fastify GraphQL, which is better and essentially more actively maintained by the Fastify people. And yeah, it's like Apollo released the beta, however knows, many weeks ago and haven't updated it since, which, you know, is still fine, but I just don't want to use and wait for them to release the production version until I can ship this. The Fastify GQL works perfectly fine and seems to be on par performance, if not better performance-wise than the Apollo GraphQL. Anyway, so here we want to apply plugins to Fastify, right? Right, so what we need is, number one, we need to load plugins, and number two, we need to say that basically plugins, Okay. For each, it's going to be plugin. How would you call that method? Something like apply use Fastify or something. And server is what we want to do, right? So something like this, which means we need another step. Load plugins, and this is gonna be plugins. So some, I guess, await load plugins as well. I'm not sure if it needs to be a sync yet. Register is, yeah, I mean, register in this case doesn't really fit because register assumes that, you know, this is the whole process, but we actually gonna have plugins that can access multiple parts of the whole thing. So we want to tap into, maybe I should, I wonder if I should do this. I wonder if only one method is fine. Let's call it plugin.setup, and then we're just gonna pass more than server. I'm just wondering, so we got to build the schema here. So the problem is, okay, yeah, I'm thinking. So the thing is that the authentication plugin basically would have to tap not just into the Fastify, right, to set up the login and register routes, but it also would have to tap into the create type and create relations and the overall thing, like, you know, we'll have to create the model actually for the MongoDB because we would need to expose the user model. So it's a bit more complex than this. But I guess we can start with, okay, let's start with the setup thing with the plugin, and that's basically it. What are you not happy about? Okay, there's just formatting. Right, so then now the load plugins thing is what we have to focus in. I guess I'm going to create the plugins folder over here. I'm going to have index.js here, exports load plugins. It's going to be a sync, and then it's going to basically return plugins. No. Const plugins is an array. Right, so for now, we're going to leave it at that. I am going to say, okay, so const require plugins. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, now we're going to have this load plugins thing. Right, so we're now calling setup method with while passing it a server. So this is what we have to handle here, right? Okay, so this is gonna be Fastify plugin. Let's call it this way. Okay, so we got this exports server. This is a function that is, let's make it a sync, because who knows if the plugins might need to do some setup, which means that in this case, we actually want to map it to the functions and then await promise all, right? So we, just in case the plugins need to do some sort of a setup before tapping into Fastify, we would allow them to do that by mapping it all to promises and just waiting for all of that stuff to finish. Okay, so we got this async server, which means that here we just want to say await server register, and we pass in our Fastify plugin, right? The only problem now is this dev thing, but I guess it's like, it's okay that if we just say that dev is node.env production, right? Because if this is more or less ubiquitous, I guess we can just describe it in the docs. That should be sufficient. Okay, so that's done. Theoretically, that actually is for our plugin here. Oh, you know what? We should also do, I guess this, because, no, not this. Wait a second. So I think I'm just gonna go filter plugins so that plugin setup basically exists, right? Or, you know what, we don't need that, right? So we have optional chaining now, so I can just use that. There you go. Okay. I think that should cover it. Right, so now the bit we need to write is this load plugins thing, which I think it's a good time to create a new example here. So I'm just going to copy the whole basic folder. I'm going to paste it here, and we're going to call it plugin next. Let's call it this way. So this is going to be example plugin next. I will have to, okay, right. So first of all, we need to say graffiti plugin next here. Say star. Right. So we need to say plugin. Do we want to? Yeah, I guess we do want to say plugins, right? And say so we're gonna say next plugin and then require graffiti plugin next, and we just go next plugin, right? So we just basically pass it somehow into the config. Okay, which means we have the schema, and then we have pages. We're gonna have, come on, I can press proper buttons sometimes. So we did that. Yes, we have the default homepage. Welcome to next.js and graffiti. Right, that should be fine. I mean, theoretically, we should extend the page to actually use the GraphQL, but we can do it later. That's perfectly okay. Right, so we got the plugin, which means that we have to get, I guess all the function does is really just gets the config, right? We already have this method here, get config. Const require config. I wonder if that will be sufficient. So config, get config, config plugins, or empty array, right? So this is basically all we have to do here. That seems way too simple. Am I missing something? Are we forgetting things? I mean, obviously we would have to extend that to allow for like lifecycle hooks, because I guess here we would want to run like allow plugins to run in it, I guess. Okay, get current project config, get list of plugins, or use empty array, return plugins. Okay, so I guess we could do allow plugins init if needed. So we can do, again, await promise all plugins map plugin, and we're gonna say can I type plugin init? So if it exists, we're just gonna run it. There we go. Okay. So essentially, if the plugin exports any init method, we're gonna await it as if it was a promise. That would allow us to do the basic setup, essentially. Everyone is scared of investing at this time. You should add a link to buy coffee for me or something, a Patreon, to monetize this channel a bit. I mean, I have the support link, and you know, like I had people send me some stuff, so that's perfectly fine. If you don't see it immediately, it's okay. It's not like I'm, you know, starving or dying here. If you want to support me, just buy me some video games. That's always a great investment. Anyway, so we loaded the plugins, we allowed them to init it, then we do the setup here, and that actually should be it for the Next.js plugin at least. Okay, yarn workspace example. What was it called? Example plugin next. Dev. Was it dev or develop? I forgot. I think it was develop, right. Hey me, welcome to the stream. Long-term investment, yes indeed. Okay, module not found. Which module not found? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, maybe I need to run yarn to install the dependencies. That's probably the problem. Right, because it's not linked. So I added the graffiti plugin next, but I haven't actually linked it. Right, there we go. So now it should work. No, not really. Could not find valid builds in the oh, right. So we have to... Right. Okay, I know what the problem is. So the problem is, by default, Next.js looks in some arbitrary folder, I believe, relative to the current file that you're using. And if we look here, yeah, so it looks in the plugin next.next directory. Wait a second, what? Cannot find valid build. But you are... I mean, we are running in a dev mode, right? Oh, right. I'm an idiot. This is what's wrong. There we go. Okay, I think that should work. So we now should have this .next folder here, and there we go. So if I go localhost 3000, we should see the next.js. It actually works. That was about 20 times easier than I thought it would be. We actually have that. And you know what? Just to... okay, so first of all, I'm going to go to git ignore and say ignore next folder, because we don't need to commit that. And second of all, you know what we're going to do? We're going to add... what is the most simple GraphQL? What was the GraphQL less clients? GraphQL client without queries. I forgot the name of it again. GQL less. There we go. This is what we want. So we're just going to use GQL less to actually query stuff. Yarn add GQL less CLI. Why do we need CLI? Oh, because you need a code gen. Oh man, I don't want to mess with code gen. Like, it's very nice, but I don't want to do that. Okay, you know what? The URQL worked fine last time, so we could just use that, or maybe we could just go for the basics. Why not? Let's just go for the basics. Getting started. That should be fine, right? So we are gonna add URQL and GraphQL packages here. I mean, I guess it would be nice to have a plugin that bundles all of that into one thing, but this is not something that I foresee us using frequently, so I'm not going to bother with that. So we got this plugin next. Let's call it util, and then we're going to have this client.js here, which is going to be that. Blah, blah, blah. We don't care about this. There we go. So we have... oh, yeah, we could just probably do that. Wait a second. GraphQL, sorry, the next.js probably has example for that, right? Yes, they do. So we can just go with that. Okay, GraphQL. So we have this GraphQL folder. Okay, so we did the client. What is this get Pokemon? This is... okay, this is just a function that wraps around the stuff. How do you connect that to the index? Await get Pokemons. Right, so they just use it directly and then pass it. So as a static props, I guess it's fine, right? We can do that as well. Okay, so we got the clients. Nope. Export const client. There we go. Okay. Then we got the pages and... yeah, right. Okay, in this case, this is not going to work because we don't really have any Pokemons. But I am gonna say, so this is what we're gonna do essentially, right? And how did they do this with the home page? It was just export default and then exports. Yeah, okay. We can do export default here and trim some lines, which is always nice. And then here we got the nodes query all nodes. We don't even need any parameters here. Node many. And in this case, it's going to be name body, right? So we're going to rename that to get nodes. Don't need a name. Node many. Okay, client query, nodes query, and we don't need any stuff to promise. That seems straightforward enough. Well, I mean, we don't even need to define that, right? So we just go, okay, we got the query. We run the query here and return props. Nodes, node many. That's literally all we want to do. Yeah, okay, so we would have to develop. We would have to insert something to actually see that work, but that's perfectly fine. So there we go. So that should be now running. 404 page cannot be found. Why cannot it be found? What is going on? Import client from... oh, right, because I'm importing from the wrong thing, right? So this should be util client. And that should actually fix it, right? Yeah, there we go. So this works. And So for now, I'm just gonna say, so here we should get this notes thing, right? And then I'm just gonna do div here. We're gonna have this div with welcome, and then we're gonna have this pre with JSON stringify notes null to just pretty print that. Theoretically, right now it should be an empty array. Come on now. There we go. Okay, and now if we go to localhost 3000 playground and run a mutation to actually insert the query. Oh, sorry, insert the note, right? So name, and this is a string, and then we have the body, which is a string, and then node create, record name is $name, and body is $body. And then just give me back the whole thing so that I can see what's going on. Right, and then we need to add those variables in here. So that's going to be name is going to be test. Body is going to be 103. We just run that. We get the node. Perfect. And if we refresh that, we should now see it works. Holy shit. That was a lot easier than I expected. Right, I would still have to figure out how to test that properly, but that actually does work. So this was the easy part. The Next.js plugin, I think, is the easy one. And I guess I don't even need this lib thing here. I can just delete this permanently and say that the main is index.js. And so this is basically it, right? Get add, get commit, add basic plugin support, and add Next.js plugin. With example is what I want to do. Addresses, I think it was the first issue I've opened, right? Yes, it was the first issue. Okay, cool. Sign the commit. So we added the Next.js plugin. Now we need to add the authentication support. And this is going to be the tricky and the interesting part, essentially, because, you know, Next.js is nice. I think it's going to be very flashy to show off, essentially. But it's not as convenient, essentially, as having the authentication plugin, right? Although, I'll admit, doing this to get your backend and then just carrying it from frontend is pretty damn sweet, to be honest. Okay, anyway, we are gonna create Graffiti plugin Auth, and I'm just gonna copy this here, package JSON. We're going to see if we need only one file or not. So it's going to be Auth Next.js plugin. So this is authentication plugin for Graffiti framework. Graffiti plugin, Auth, authentication. That is fine. We do not need any of those dependencies here. We will need other dependencies though, right? And then index.js. So we're also going to have index.js here. We don't need that anymore. And I guess we do need that because we want to copy this method here, right? So comment that for now, and that doesn't. Okay. So what do we need for authentication? We need three things, right? So we need to, number one, create user model in DB, right? Number two, create GraphQL user types. 3, create login and register, or I guess register and login would be more reasonable login endpoints. So this is basic REST endpoints, right? Because I don't like, did anyone work with GraphQL enough to actually create a login through GraphQL? Is that a thing? Because I never seen anything like that, and I don't think this is basically a thing. What did you clip there? I'm terrified. I'm gonna mute that. Ah, you clip the fact that it works. Yes, I mean that is honestly, I am impressed, even though I knew kind of that this is the way it should work. But man, this was a lot easier than I expected it to be. Anyway, back to our plugin. So create login register user. I think that's it, right? So this is basically what we need. So which means we need access to Mongo, access to type defs, and then access to Fastify, which we already have essentially, right? Just your reaction, that was great. Okay, I mean, as I said, I was impressed that it was that easy. Okay, so we already have the access to Fastify, which means we can actually go here. I can copy the Fastify plugin from here, right? So we can go and be like, for now, I'm just gonna dump everything into one file, but then we're gonna basically split it and make it nicer and so on and so forth. So in this case, we don't actually care about all of that, and what we want is we want to say Fastify. No, not that. I want to say Fastify post login. Request reply, and then essentially reply something, and then we need to do the same with register, right? So this is the two methods we need. Okay, so this is number 1. So this is 3 actually. Okay, number 3, let's be sequential, which means that we need a functions that would do something with db. Right, again, I'm gonna make them all async just in case. I mean, okay, with db it has to be async. And then we need a function with GraphQL, something to do with GraphQL. Okay, so let's try to figure it out step by step. Let me think for a second. So, okay, let's go to Graffiti and see here. So number 1, we need access to MongoDB, and we need access to creating those models, right? So the way we create the models here is, and I guess we could provide access to this. That would be a nice solution, right? So essentially, this is the function that reads the schema, config relations, resolvers, and so on and so forth from files, right? From your folder, and then just pushes it into the models array, which they are then used to construct this. We could give plugins a way to do the same thing, just expose those files. I mean, that would, so this would, if we do that, it would cover both of those things, right? Because essentially we just need to do the same thing. So we need to create the same model we already do in the GraphQL framework. We just need to do it for this thing. Okay, right. So which means that we need to get the config here, or maybe wait a second. Can I just pass plugins from somewhere? Yes, I can. Which means that so we do load the plugins here, which means I can just pass them here, right? Means we're gonna get DB and plugins here. And then we are gonna iterate over here and do the exactly same thing for plugins. Iterate over plugins and create GraphQL type defs if given. Why not use side effects for plugins? Why would we need side effects here? Like, we don't need side effects. We want exactly the same thing that we are doing right now with the models, right? Plus the ability to tap into the Fastify, which we already have. So I think this is actually a better solution, but if you can elaborate what exactly you mean, maybe I misunderstand, and maybe this is indeed a better way of doing it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna iterate over a plugin of plugins, right? And instead of saying that we are gonna require given path, get data from plugin export. So, which means that this has to be something like plugin dot, how do you call that? So how would we call that? Plugin schema? Yeah, I guess plugin schema would work, right? Okay, but the thing is that we have to actually check if it exports it. If there's no plugin schema, then we just continue, right? So if we have a plugin like next.js that doesn't care about exposing schema, then we just basically skip it. get data from plugin schema. Let's call it this way. Plugin doesn't export schema, just skip it. Okay, so we got this. Right, but in this case, we also have to export the name for it. Which also, yeah, so this is essentially what we export from plugin, right? So we, right, yes, schema, and this is gonna be an object that has a name. Oh, you know what? But it might want to export more than one schema, right? So let's make it an array of things. So we're gonna have an array that has this stuff, which means that here, schemas length, yes, so we are gonna go for this if doesn't export schemas, right? Okay, this is gonna be that, and then iterate over schemas exported from plugin. So we're gonna go over them. Const schema of plugin schemas. So in this case, it's multiple. And then we're just gonna push them into the, what is going on? Oh yeah, right, because this is it's gonna shadow the schema we are extracting from there, so that should do it. Okay, cool. So we are iterating over that. In this case, we got the name is user. The schema is, so yeah, the schema is our mongoose schema, which means that in this case, let's say username string. So this is going to be type string unique. Okay, not username, is going to be email. So obviously, like, this is going to be a very basic plugin, right? That is going to just contain the super stupid basic stuff. But I think later on it can be essentially expanded to allow, for example, to configure the schema from the user side, right? Okay, so username password is gonna be, I mean, I guess I can just do this, right? So email, user, password, that's fine for now, right? Now config is something we actually do want to have here, right? So because we don't actually want to expose all of those default queries, which means I'm going to copy the whole damn thing here and be like, okay, so there's our defaults. So queries, we do want to get one user. We do not want to allow many users. I guess total is fine. One many. So I guess I don't know. Do we, what typically do you want to get from the users? You want to get one user by ID. You only want to get your own user, right? Which means that just get by ID, like this one is fine and everything else is basically false. And then we're going to disallow mutating it so that nobody, oh no, wait a second. We cannot disallow mutating because we actually want, okay, so allow only querying for user by ID. And then basically we only want to allow updating by ID. Allow only updating user by ID, right? Because, sorry, you sort of want to update yourself, but then you don't want to allow to update anyone else. Okay. That's fine. Okay, the next thing is relations. I closed the wrong file. We do need that. So relations is something we don't actually need, I think, right? Let me think. So we got the relations that are automatic. We got the relations that are manual. And yeah, so in this case, this is like additional setup. I guess we don't care about that. Same goes for resolver, so we don't need any custom stuff. So essentially, this should cover it. So this should give us, once you add this plugin, it should essentially connect the, you know what? I'm gonna wait a second. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna go here with API login and API register in case you want to use it together with next.js so you don't shadow your methods. Okay, so this should give us the user schema that has the email, username, and password, and that only allows for get by ID and update by ID. Let's test it out. I did not create an example, did I? So we're gonna copy that, paste it here. Plugin Auth is what we're gonna call it. Is the custom git commit template that pops up something you wrote or from some kind of plugin? It is custom, is basically something, I mean, it's not exactly I written it, I found it somewhere, but it's essentially just something that is defined in my git config as a template. So there's the git commit message, and it's just a simple file. It's like, it's a very handy, I just find it very nice to, you know, adhere to some format, I guess. It's like, if this commit is applied, it will add blah blah, change blah blah, right? And then you explain why you change it if the explanation is needed, and then you just say closes, addresses, whatever specific tickets. It's just a tiny little handy thing to help me structure my commit messages a bit better. Okay, anyway, continuing, we don't need that. We do need plugin Auth. Plugin Auth, yes, I think that should do it. So we can kill the delete permanently. Pages, we don't need pages. Although I think it would be nice to actually, I wonder if we wanted to test it together with next.js so we can actually write a login screen and see what's going on. But in theory, you know what? Link to user. User. What was the relations? Give me a second. So theoretically, we now have this user thing, right? Which means we can say that this is now linked to the user. Okay. So I'm going to run yarn, and then we're going to yarn workspace. Okay, come on, link stuff. Yarn workspace, plugin auth develop. Probably going to crash. Yep. Target type is not defined. Right, did I? Wait a second. So we got, oh, right, I'm an idiot. I did not include the plugin into the config file, right? Yes, I have not. Right. This is what we want. Okay, so now it should actually include the plugin. Now it should construct the users. So in theory, if I go to localhost 3000 playground, we should now be able to actually query for user by ID. Hey, and we got our fields. So that actually worked. Holy shit, that is a lot easier than I thought it would be. Right. Okay, so what we want, I can stop this. What we want now is those login and register methods and some Fastify. I believe Fastify had an authentication plugin. There we go. That allowed us to. There was a Fastify JVT or something as well, if I remember. They had a pretty complete example that basically connects all of this together. Secret, super secret token. Right, so this is the, okay, so the JVT plugin just allows you to validate stuff. And okay, yeah, that is fine. Right, so I guess we want this Fastify JVT first of all, right? Yarn workspace graffiti plugin auth add. So one Fastify JVT. Fastify auth does what? Decorate, wrote, freehander. Okay, so we want. Right, so what we need as well is a way for our plugin to say that there is some method that should be executed on all routes, right? Yes, so we could do this thing. Okay. Yeah, so we want this Fastify auth as well. And I believe we would need the Fastify, I think it was called Fastify plugin, because unless you wrap your plugin in Fastify plugin, it won't have access to the outer scope. Let me think. So we got this. Where is? There we go, Fastify plugin. Okay, so we need that. And I believe we also, or maybe we don't need it for next year. Okay, so this is something that we have to work out because scoping is, is a generally tricky topic. So we have to figure out where exactly do we need it and where not. Okay, we don't need examples for now. So we got this. We've added a Auth JVT and plugin. Okay, we don't need that anymore. We don't need, so this, this is, this is coming out a lot easier than I thought again. I think I already said that. Okay, so this is basically, I guess, export user schema that is used to create user model NDB and GraphQL user type. Yes, we can do it like this. There we go. All right, so now we need to set up this Fastify Auth thing, right? And you do that. So we just say Fastify decorate. So this is the verify JVT, verify user and password. So this is what we get from here, right? So, right, so first of all, the plugin thing, which means that this has to be set up like this. Fastify plugin. Okay, so I guess I gotta require it. FP require Fastify plugin, right? So we gotta wrap our Fastify plugin in FP, which will make it globally scoped, which means it can modify the GraphQL endpoint and so on and so forth. Right, so after that, we gotta say await Fastify register. And this is here. This is where we tap in the JVT, right? So this is gonna be JVT. Okay. Now, so the stupidest way of adding it is by using this secret. And I think this is exactly what we're gonna do. Okay, so the deal is we need to allow user to set up this secret, right? Somehow. Which ideally would be done from config. So let me think for a second. So this is, so essentially we want some way of doing it from here. And I guess maybe not exports then. So essentially we need to return an object, right, that has this schemas, that has the setup, and that uses this Fastify plugin that essentially uses the user given secret. So okay, let's go this. So it's going to be secret my super secret JVT secret, right? Which means that we have to change that. So we got our schemas, we got our setup, and then export. So this is going to be a default function. Takes in a config, that is in our case is just going to be secret, right? And then it returns schema. Yes, schemas, was it right? We got the schemas, we got this setup. And then the setup, I guess we could just do this here. So I could say the setup is this. And I mean, I guess we can just construct this thing here as well. So we can just say, okay, once we pass the secret, we're just going to use here to create the register and login REST endpoints as a Fastify plugin. So we use that secret. I think we should be able to do it in one line. Perfect. Then we create the login endpoints, and then we create the register endpoints. Okay, so this is a bit trickier part because we need access to so wait a second, where is it happening? So here we create our models, right? So we got the Mongo model and we got the type. So we got this type defs and Mongo models, and we need access to them as well. So we need some sort of a way to share them across things. Probably setting them to Fastify as a property would work. So I guess let's try that. Hey, Major Malfunction, welcome to the stream. Okay, so I guess instead of returning just the GraphQL schema, I'm going to return type defs and Mongo models as well. I mistyped that. There we go. Okay, so that means that I have to change. So this is our build schema method, right? Yes, and then here, GraphQL schema. So schema is GraphQL schema. And then we got to assign those type defs and models to Fastify. So expose newly constructed type defs and models using Fastify. So Fastify, I believe, oh no, sorry, server. I believe it was set or something, but we're going to have a look at the docs right now. So where is the Fastify server methods? Your chair, leather or fabric? It is absolutely fabric. We got can't stay, destroy everything. I don't want to buy a leather chair just to have it destroyed like 2 days in. So no way in life I'm going to buy a leather chair. Okay, so let me think. What was the name of the method? Was it decorate? I think it was decorate, right? Check here. So you got the decorators. Decorate request. Usage, decorate name, utility, decorate. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so we want to decorate Fastify with server decorate. With what do we call it? Let's call it graffiti, and then it's going to be this type defs and Mongo models. And I mean, since GraphQL schema, so GraphQL schema here, no, this is the composer. I guess let's export the composer as well, because it might be required in some cases. So I'm just going to expose it as well, right? I don't think we need access to schema itself, but this should be sufficient. Okay, so we did that. Yes, I should save this. Type defs, models, and composer using Fastify. Okay, which means that here now, when we do the register, okay, so email, username, and password. It's gonna be request body console log registering email, username, password. So we need to hash password. That's another thing. And then I also want a console log Fastify graffiti and see what's going on. Just gonna send this. You know what I'm gonna do? Wait a second. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna say that this is a user, and we're just gonna log it and send it back. Okay. So we got that part. Yes. So we start the Auth thing. Hopefully it doesn't crash. No, it doesn't. Perfect. We go to. I think I need to close. Hey, come on. Where's my? We need to close the playground. Otherwise, it's gonna keep spamming us with those messages. I am gonna open another window. I'm gonna. Do I have HTTP installed? Yes, I do. Posts. Perfect. We already have everything set up here. So it's gonna be 3000 API register email name. Sorry, username is what I used, right? And internal server function reply is not a function. Right. I forgot how to reply in Fastify. That does happen sometimes. Reply send. Okay, right. Reply send. There we go. So that should have, did it reload? No, it didn't reload because it's not the changes in the current work folder, which makes perfect sense. Okay. There we go. So that works. And we do have access to our Mongo models. And there's our user model. Which means that what we have to do now is say, okay, so fastify, no, what? Fastify, come on, where's my auto suggestion? PT, where was Mongo models, right? User. Okay, I guess it would be better to do it like this. Okay, and just to be safe, we're gonna do it like this. No, I guess you know what, it doesn't matter. We can just, like, it will throw an error if it's not there, which makes perfect sense, right? So, and then we just say const user, new user, email, username, password, hashed password. So that's one thing we need to do, hashed password. Okay, so we need some sort of a hashing mechanism. Okay, await user save. We're gonna save it into MongoDB, and then result is gonna be user to objects. Gonna delete. You know what? No, I guess it would be easier to just do it like this. Password. Result user. I guess just call it result. Why not? Registered. There we go. And then we just send back this result without password. This also has to be async. I think we can just do return result here, right? It's fastify. So that should work perfectly fine. Okay, so now the problem is we need to hash the password. And we also, do they have an example here with JVT? And we also need to use this JVT somehow from Auth, I assume. Right, so we also should actually require this Auth thing. Okay, and then we do register Auth, right? So we do that. Okay, decorate, blah, blah, blah. So is there, do you have any good examples of doing, yeah, okay, so we need that absolutely. And here is our on request. Yeah, so this is what we basically want to do, right? On hook, on request, try verify JVT. Okay, cool. So you got that. And then I remember this. So basically we need additional setup, if I remember correctly, of how will it extract the JVT from the request, first of all. And second of all, how we set, I think we want to basically store the JVT in the cookies because it's like the most universal thing, as well as the return the token. But let's see, JVT, fastify JVT decode, JVT sign. Okay, so this is the token. So this is how we got this result. We generate the token from our result, and then we send back the token and user result. There we go. This is what we want to do. This is going to be unused, and now we need to hash the password. Again, I'm still looking for the, I guess something like node hash passwords. What was it? Bcrypt, I think, or something will be good enough for us. Yes, Bcrypt. Come on, is there better modules than Bcrypt right now? Anyone working with cryptography? Anyone know if that's like, if there's anything better? June 1st, that's relatively fresh actually. Bcrypt version 12, yeah, okay, blah, blah, blah. Sure, security issues and concerns. Issue with passwords, OpenBSD version, Bcrypt around the block truncated old passwords. Okay, those are old versions essentially. Yeah, okay, seems good. Okay, you know what, let's go with Bcrypt, why not? Air workspace, graffiti plugin. Add Bcrypt. So it's obviously not gonna be like super safe, you know. Okay. Super secure best practices at the start, obviously. Okay, salt rounds is something we need to pass in from the here, I guess, right? Okay, default to 10. And then, I guess, do they have a sync API? Yes, they do. Okay, cool. Compare, yeah, okay. So I guess I'm just gonna create, yeah, I need to create a hash function over here, right? Hash password, and it's gonna be a sync const salt await big what? No, I cannot type apparently. So we generate the salt from 10 rounds, and then we say, okay, hash is gonna be that awaits, and that should be here, and then we return hash. Okay, and then here this is password. Okay, cool. So this should be good. Which means that we can here do hash password. This is going to be hashed password. This is registering email user hashed password just to log what the hell are we doing. No, sorry, username is what we want, right? Okay, I think that covers the user creation. Oh, we need to set up the cookies. Wait a second. Fastify cookies. I mean, I guess we could. Nah, I don't want to skip the cookies. Fastify cookies, secrets, parser options. Okay, so we would need another secrets. I guess we could just derive them from the one we have, which would work okay. Reply set cookie. Yeah, I think that should be sufficient for our case, I hope. Okay, let's see. Yarn, no, workspace plugin adds Fastify cookie. So we are gonna require the cookie. Cookies require cookie, or I guess let's call it cookie, why not? Which means register Auth, register cookie, and then there's some config, which is parse options. Okay, so we don't care about that. Secret, right? So I guess let's generate the secrets and derive them from the given secrets. Cookies, secret, graffiti, Auth. Let's call it this way. And then here in the JVT, I'm gonna say that the secret is JVT secret graffiti. So it's just basically going to be the derivations of that secret. I mean, theoretically, I guess we could update it later on to just use the hash function and just hash it and get 2 random hashes from like substrings or something. But for now, it's fine. Okay, so we got the cookies, which means that here... Okay, so we cannot return anymore. Reply send this and then set cookie... So we're gonna do that. What does it... Right, so I think this is what we want, but... Yeah, so path signs. So this is the key, is gonna be, let's call it graffiti token, and then here is gonna be token. That should do it, I think. I wonder if that will work. I have a bad feeling about that, but let's give it a shot. I feel like I screwed something up. Okay, so if I send that, no authorization was found in headers. Right, so first of all, we need to... How do we do that? Oh yeah, right. I think we could basically register... So this should be added in a plugin, and then we can just say fastify register sync instance ops next. So I think we should basically be able to shadow it. Instance. I believe if you do the plugin this way, it doesn't share the same hooks. So it should basically... Nope. Oh man, how do you do that? I forgot. I mean, I guess we could just... let me put that back. I guess we could manually disable authorization. So wait a second. So got this fastify Auth, and can we just say, how do you disable? Disable it on specific routes. There's probably somebody been asking about this, right? Disable. No. Okay. Right, so I'm guessing Fastify disable hooks on routes. That's gotta be a thing, right? It seems such an obvious thing. Yeah, there you go. I even Googled for that already. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, it was me who was asking about that. Well, we are full circle. So register instance, right? So yeah. This is what the original answer was, that you can create a new plugin that basically has the pre-handlers, and then you create another plugin that does not have the pre-handlers, which in our case doesn't really work. And in this case, the guy says the pre-handler. Oh, so you can just say that. You can just say that there's a specific pre-handler. Get blah 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 schema. Okay. So this is wait a second. What was this pre-handler? And then come on, where's my Fastify docs? Request reply schema decorators. No. Routes is what I want, and I want pre-handlers. No, routes prefixing, handling, route inside. Log level were not what I want. Okay, schema, your method, URL, schema, on request. Okay, so on request is what we want to override, right? So I think you should, I think you just do this, on request, return true, I guess. So what's the signature there? On request, async, request, reply. Yeah, okay, so we just do nothing essentially. I think maybe just dummy function. That work? Okay, let's try that. Are you working now? No, unauthorized. Request headers. No authorization was found in request headers. Okay. Oh, is it because the Auth is tapping into it? Wait a second. So what am I missing? Post Auth, pre-handler, Auth, verify. So what are we? Wait a second. What methods are we? Yeah, we're doing this on request thing in JVT verify. But in this case, wait a second. Am I even using? I am confused right now with all those things. So if I do that, are we still? Right, so this is not authentication, rather, but the JVT thing. The question is, do we even need authentication? The model does not provide authentication, but it provides a very basic utility to handle in your routes without adding overhead. Check complete example here. JVT, yes. Auth, yes. Okay, decorate. So this is the functions. Okay. Handler. And where is... So they explicitly here in this case just do pre-handler with Auth. Okay, so I guess it would be better to do the same for us. I'm just thinking, how do we... Okay, so we do Auth, we do JVT. So instead of this, we're going to have to create a new function like this one, right? And then decorate. Okay, so verify JVT. Let's just call it verify JVT. I am gonna move that. I mean, I can just move that over here, right? Because it's gonna be literally only one function. Function verify JVT. I mean, we don't even need that. We can just make it arrow function. So JVT is, yes, this is gonna be Fastify JVT. We don't care about that. Request body failed with reply. Okay, there's some misc stuff. Missing token header. Okay, right. Okay, let me just save and format this. So what we want is, there's a decoded user. What we want is find user in database, which means Fastify graffiti. Oh man, what was the path to it? Mongo models. Again, we're gonna grab the user. Hey Shapam, welcome to the stream. All right, so we got the user, then we gotta find the user here. User find one. I guess find by ID would be ideal, because decoded user ID should be there, right? And that thing got to be, let me just rewrite that a bit. So this got to be async. Right, so we wait for that. We don't care about this. We don't care about done. And where is this done going from? I guess we could just do this, right? Const decoded awaits. There we go. Then this should be async. I think this basically was, we used it asyncly before, right? So which means we can say, whoops, try asynchronously is what I wanted to say. Not as asyncly is not a word. Catch error, and then we just throw new error. Token not valid. That's basically all I want to say. Okay. Right, so if there is no user, we just throw new error. Okay, and if there's password. Okay, right, so we got this. Don't care about that. Okay, so that's a lot cleaner. So we decode the token, we get the user. If there's no user, we throw an error. Otherwise, we get the decoded password, and if it's not equal to user password, then we just, whoops, that is too much. We just throw new error. Yeah, okay, cool. That looks good, I think. So we now got this verify JVT. Nice haircut, thank you. So we got this JVT thing, which means that now we need to define those. So in this case, they use those pre-handler methods, right? And this was over here where there was like, okay, so we can define this add hook. Okay, which means that, okay, so we decorated, which means here we can add this hook, verify JVT. Right, so this will add that hook to all requests. And here, pre-handler. Where was that ticket? Pre-handler, async. So I just do that. I think, would that work? Interesting. Let's see if that works. Okay, so if I didn't screw anything up. Unknown, missing token header. Okay, so that does not work. So now we just have to figure, am I even doing it correctly? I kind of have a feeling I'm not doing it correctly in terms of the using the Fastify route declaration. So this is get, and then where's the, so you can options, there's a different signature as well, right? Post options handler, right? So this is, so the handler goes at the very end, which is what we have, and then we have the options. And then pre-handler specific validation. So this doesn't seem to, I know there's no issue, but it's always with this pre-handler, some validation, get address schema, blah, blah, blah. Schema validates. Okay, so we don't care about schema in this case. We just want this pre-handler thing tapped. Why are you not? Wait a second. Am I doing? Yes, I am doing the registration, right? So I'm missing token header. Okay, I mean, one way would be to explicitly allow this thing. You know what? Since we are not doing anything else with it here, I can just do that. What we could do is we could basically just say console. No. Console log request. We could just explicitly say that. What do you call them? The login and what? Whoops. The route, right? So request URL. I think it is request URL, right? Query. So as our requests, we got params row, blah, 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 log incoming message. Wait a second, is it request you? So what is the, where's my docs again? I think it will be, yeah, I think it will be easier to basically just override that and go with, maybe I was too hastily to close those. Let me just open them back again. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that request, where's the request definition? Request params, they're like, yeah, URL, there we go. So request URL is theoretically what we want to tap into. And if it's either register, API register, or there we go. Okay. Const white. So permit list, let's call it this, API register, API login. And if permit list includes request URL, then we're gonna return done, right? So this is it. Oh, I also have to do return done here as well. Return done. And I probably should do the whole, yeah, okay. Right. Okay, so this is fine. So if I throw errors here, it bubbles over here. If we're done, then it's perfectly okay. There's an error. There is. Okay, so for now, we're only reading the token from header, which we're going to change to cookies in a second. But theoretically, this now should actually allow us to call the registration method. And, okay, it went further this time right after end. User is not a constructor. Registering hashed password. Oh, did I forgot to await the hashed password? God damn it. Yes, I did. Okay. We get the password. User, Mongo models, user. Okay, wait a second. So Mongo model is, so that should be Mongo models.user, and that should be our Mongo model, which is the build model, which returns. So that should be the model, right? Okay, what do you mean it's console log user? Okay, so why you mean it's not a, right, so user is not a constructor. Well, we're getting there. It's getting closer already. Okay, so we are, okay, the password is now hashed correctly. That's good. And then the user is, where is our log for the user? User is not a constructor. Registering, where is my log for the user? Wait a second, what? Okay, what do you mean? Wait, where's my, so this is the register, undefined. Oh, wait a second. Oh, is it the lowercase? I'm an idiot. Is that what I want to do? That's the problem. I think, yes, I think I lowercased all the models actually. Okay, and then we call this, and hey, it actually worked. There's our token, there's our user, and there's our cookie with a token. Okay, so now the trick is to, so theoretically, if we go to localhost playground, we should be able to, first of all, query our newly created user. What's going on now? Oh, it did crash anyway. Right after end. Okay, so what is going on? Set cookie, send. Okay, that means we don't need that actually. So that might have been a problem, but let's see. Do that, JVT sign. Wait a second, does JVT sign actually terminate it? So there, where's our example JVT sign? Request body on token. There's register. So what does register do? So it takes the body password, saves it into the database, and then once it's saved, it does specify JVT sign, gets the token and sends it back. Okay, so that JVT sign basically should work as expected. reply set cookie send user token results. Okay, but it does work. So wait a second. Where's the error coming from? On send end on send hook. Why is it trying to do something with a hook? Duplicate key. Okay, yeah, okay. So it failed with the error. That is, yeah. I guess we should try. We should probably try cache that thing, right? Because if any of that fails, we basically say error reply send error to string. So for now, I'm just going to send the string of error, which obviously is not very nice, but at least that should work. Okay, no more errors. Reply was specify error reply was sent. Wait a second. Oh, I think this is from the... No, wait a second. That shouldn't be from there, right? That is... I am so confused right now. Why is it saying reply was sent? So if there's an error anywhere here, which means that right now there should be an error on save, right? It throws... Well, why does it continue? Anyway, you know what? Doesn't really matter. Test 3 to 1. That works. But there's a warning reply was sent. Where is this coming from? Plugin Auth 122. So since this... Okay, am I setting the cookie wrong? Is that the problem? Where's my cookie plugin? Specify cookie, reply set code send. No, that seems fine, right? Send, okay, it works. Verify cookie. Okay, yeah, so we probably should add this properties here. And we should, yeah, so we need domain as well. That's the problem. Maybe this is the issue. Okay, so domain should come from our config. And you know what? We're gonna say, okay, domain defaults to localhost. Okay. No, wait, not localhost. Localhost 3000 is what we want, right? Okay. And then JVT. So how do I get the cookie? We'll return... No, this is the JVT. Wait a second. I am looking... Okay, this is the cookie, register, cookie. Oh, yeah, there you go. So you can just say... But we are doing that manually anyway, so... Where is my cookies package? JVT, Auth. Specify cookie, there we go. Request cookies, cookie name. Okay, there we go. This is what we want. So this is our... Okay, const token. Token is gonna be either request cookies token, right? So we're gonna prioritize the cookies, or it's gonna be headers Auth, right? So if there's no token, we just die, and then we verify the token from here. I think we don't actually need this done here because we are a sync. So this could be just throw new error. I guess we don't need to throw new error because we are a sync. In this case, we throw new error. Try catch. Yeah, I think that should be nicer because mixing async and non-async is a bit weird. Throw new error. There we go. Okay. So verify JVT is what we're using. I don't think we need that here. So I guess we're just going to return true and then return true here as well. So long as basically something is returned. So we no longer send anything from here, which means that this is the thing, pre-handler. Okay, maybe this was the issue. Let's give it a shot. Hey Kunch, welcome to the stream. All right, so let's try register one more time. Let's just go with test@gmail.com. It worked. Okay, so I guess it was that problem with Auth, the sending of that stuff. We do get our graffiti token. It is cookie. It is localhost 3000 path HTTP only, secure, same site strict. So it's like all the best practices are here. We get the token here. We get the user back, which means now we need the login method, right? So this is basically do the login method and we are done actually, which is pretty good. So you're going to log in by email and password. So I guess we just go with get the user by email is what we want. Right, and that should be completely different. So await user, find one, lean. So this is going to be a lean model, async. Okay, so we need to... Right, yeah. So we do the same, but here, if password is gonna be DB password. So what we need to do now is compare those, right? So, and to do this, we need the bcrypt, which I know I didn't close it. So you can do bcrypt compare, right? And I think, do we need to? No, we don't need to. We don't even care about that, right? So this is... so DB, I guess, yeah, let's call it DB password is a silly name. So password hash is what we have in the database, right? And then password is what the user sends us. Okay. And that is a sync. So we have to say passwords match, right? I'm gonna wait, compare those. And if passwords do not match, throw new error, wrong email or password. There we go. What is wrong with it? There we go. No. There we go. Okay, now it's fine. Okay, if they don't match, we throw an error. If they do match, we sign the token, set it to the cookie, return the result, and the user. There we go. Hi, Marina. Welcome to the stream. All right, we got that. This seems to be fine. Match, yep. Okay, cool. So in theory, we now have, let me just restart that. If I go to the localhost playgrounds, token is not valid. Of course, which makes perfect sense. Right, so I think we also need this dev mode flag, right? Where did we... So this is the plugin creation. Yeah, so is production node env, wait a second, process env node env production. I guess it doesn't. No, you know what? So the thing is that basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say that if we are running in not in production, and permit list is gonna push playground. So we're basically gonna allow anyone to run on the playground and just play around with it without having to authenticate, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, right? So in dev mode, this is just gonna work. And then in production, it's up to you if you want to authenticate or anything like that. And it's probably gonna fail because there's 500 internal server error on playground. Okay, I guess we want to stay, I want to say, okay, how do I do that? I don't want to basically, request URL, a permit list, some URL starts with URL, right? So I guess that should do it. Probably, yeah, there you go. So the gist is that I want to how do you call it? Allow anything that starts with a specific URL. And now we're working. Okay, but it cannot reach GraphQL. Okay, so we also want /GraphQL here. Okay, but maybe it's actually, wait a second. So maybe it's not a good idea to actually just permit all of that, but rather whitelist specific URLs, because it might be actually better. Okay, so I don't want to trade authentication for nice dev experience, which comes without, like, with playing around with stuff in the dev mode, essentially. Okay, so there is playground init.js. I feel like it's not going to be too many URLs, so I think it's going to be easier to just add them, essentially. But we are like 95% there. Obviously, it's just proof of concept. Again, there's like a ton of work to be done here. Probably should restart that. What else? That it's okay. Cool. That seems to be it. Cool. All right. Console. There we go. So in theory, if I now go and say, give me user by ID. Hell if I know our user IDs, actually, to be honest. I mean, we did. Oh yeah, we do have one here. I should theoretically just be able to get this guy, right? Whoops. So that should be able, like, yep, that actually works. Okay, cool. So we are able to query it from the GraphQL endpoints, and now we should be able to email, passwords, login with the same user that we used to create something. User to object is not a function. Okay, I screwed something up. So let's have a look at the login code. Find one lean. Oh, right, because it's a lean user, we don't actually need to, which means we can even drop all of that and just, no, we cannot drop that. I guess we, nah, it's not very good. Okay. There is no user. Throw new, yeah, I'm just gonna do that. Okay. And it actually works. There you go. Okay. Now the question is, so the problem is that now this permits everything in dev mode, which I don't know if we want to. I wonder if I'm just thinking, like, the thing is that I want to have a nice development experience, but on the other hand, I want to be able to test that it's protected in the dev mode, right? So let me think for a second. So I'm just gonna kill that. So if I start the example plugin, if I now reload that, it's just gonna say, hey, you are actually don't have any valid token, but we can do fetch API login method post email test 1 to 3. I think that should do it. Right? So this now wrong email or password. Okay, what did I use as a login or email password? What did we use here? Email test at Gmail. Yes, and password is test 1 to 3. No, that's the username. Password 1 to 3. Email JSON stringify method post. I think I am missing. I am missing content type. Yes, there we go. Test. This work? Are we good? Preview. Yeah, there we go. So now we should have the cookie set, right? It's obviously not the perfect way of doing it. Token is not valid. But wait a second. So if I send this, no, what was the last fetch? There we go. So we set that fetch, and this should have set the cookie graffiti token. Localhost 3000 path / oh, is that because of the path? That was because the main attribute was invalid with regards to the current host or URL. Wait a second. I thought the main is what you put with cookie domain localhost ports. Is it my fault? So I was like, cookies not port specific in localhost. Cookies are given host or shared across all the ports on the same. Oh, okay. So I can just say it's localhost basically. So it's my fault. Okay, let's try that. I mean, I guess it would be nice to just give some sort of a login screen or something, but right. And what is wrong? Cookie was blocked because it had secure attribute but was not received over a secure connection. Right, okay, that makes perfect sense. Guess we can just go. We're just gonna allow setting this as a parameter and default it to false, right? And I think that should cover it. Come on. Okay, send it again. Right, now it's set. Now we have graffiti token. So if I refresh it, no valid token still. Interesting. What? Token not valid. Okay, so there is something wrong with our... Oh, I'm an idiot, of course. I know what is wrong with our logic. It's not token, right? It's graffiti token. There we go. That should fix it. Where is my... no, not that. This one. Okay. Missing token header. Right. Request cookies, graffiti token, or... Okay, console log token. Cookies. I just want to log this stuff and see what am I doing wrong. Header. Cats. She just decided to play with a ball that is really loud in case you hear some weird noise. This is perfect time to play with stuff. Okay, so token undefined, cookies undefined, header undefined. That is absolute lies. Oh, is it because of the path? Token. So what is, wait a second, what is the localhost path / session HTTP only secure strict slacks? Is it? Yeah, I guess it's because I've set it to strict, right? And same site. I guess, yeah, I guess let's just allow passing those and set them to false by default, because I feel like this is the optimizations you only want to have when deploying stuff, right? And by default, it doesn't actually make sense, or at least in the dev mode, it doesn't make sense to run them. False, okay. Restart, but we need to clean this. I guess I can just kill the graffiti token from here. Reload that, send this, network, and now token cookies. Okay, so token is now valid, right? So this is the one that we have. Yeah, that looks correct. So what is wrong now? Says token not valid. So where does it actually fail? So it's no longer missing the token, which is great. So we fixed that issue. Decoded. Okay. Let's try to debug what's going on here and why it doesn't work. Decoded. Okay, so it does decode it. Fine. That looks okay. Oh, god damn it. It's the same issue. I'm an idiot, right? Okay, of course. That should fix it, I think. So I still like the casing. No, that still didn't fix it. So decoded, but it doesn't have a user? No, it doesn't. Decoded is a user. So this is what I want to do. Find by ID. We also want to have a lean user. That will be good. And nope. Okay. Console log. Well, let's see. User. We get to this place. Okay. We are like 95% there, just to figure out what the hell's going on here. User. Okay, so we get the user. So that cannot be correct. So that cannot be wrong, right? Oh, there is no decoded password. That is what the problem is. Right, we don't need to compare the password, right? The JVT is signed, I guess. No, we do need to compare the password. Then I don't need to remove the password here from the user. User password. I mean, I guess it does make sense since the password is hashed. It doesn't matter if I share it anyway, right? User Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we are keeping the password. Okay. Right, so we need to relog in, and then that should refresh the token we have. The token should now include the hashed password. And we are finally working. There we go. So now we're actually authenticated. The message missing token. Why are you not sending a request? Where's my... Wait a second. So there's our graffiti token. It is... Session, yes, localhost, we got the token. So why is it not sending it to the GraphQL endpoint? Oh, I think I know why it might be. It might be that the playgrounds... Okay, wait a second. I think I know. Fastify GQL. So we need... Basically, you need to say the playgrounds. Is there a way to configure the playground? Query depth. Playground services GraphQL IDE. Okay, so this is something that basically, so the problem is that I believe GraphQL Playground, it uses fetch and by default doesn't include the headers, which means, the credentials, which means it's just gonna fail all the time because it doesn't include the cookies, right? So we need to configure the playground and tell it to actually include the credentials and requests to make that work correctly. Okay, let me just kill all those console logs. But I think as a POC that is perfectly fine. We need to kill that. And it actually does work pretty well. I think we can say that HTTP only is true and same side is whatever. So that is okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so we are, yeah, as I said, we're probably not going to finish this today. There's some things I need to basically investigate and figure out. But I think that does close the ticket on the plugin support, and it does close the authentication plugin. Just need to extend it a bit, make the GraphQL endpoint work, and then it's all pretty good. Okay, and add some tests, obviously, because we are lacking some tests here. So commits, add basic Auth plugin VIP and extended plugins support. Addresses number 1. Okay, so this is now done. I'm gonna edit this and say that we need to do add tests to plugins. Make GraphQL Playgrounds work with Auth plugin, and then also refactor Auth plugin code a bit, and then we're basically, so this is something that I can just do off screen because it's a boring stuff that nobody wants to watch. And after that, I think we can release version 1.0. It's kind of shaping up quite damn nice. It's like it's a lot. No, so one thing I want to test is if you could just add Auth and Next plugin and just get all in one app that you can basically just quickly log in. Oh, you know what? Maybe I want to add basic login screen, login register screens in dev mode to a Auth plugin to simplify working with what do you call it? Simplify working with Playground. So the idea is that you would get some sort of a very basic login registration screen, so you don't have to manually send the fetch requests or whatever because it's annoying, right? And yeah, let's see if I broke anything with my changes. Theoretically shouldn't, because we haven't touched the old stuff. There we go, all works perfectly fine. Just gonna push that. And yeah, I think we are done for today. If you guys have any questions or suggestions or things that were not clear during the stream, you have a couple of minutes to ask right now. If not, then that's basically it from my side for today. I don't know if there's going to be any more streams about this specific framework in the future, because as I said, this is pretty much version 1.0. There's just a few minor things to do after that, just writing a lot of docs, and yeah, that's basically it. I also need to configure the publishing for plugins. Let me just write this down as well. Publishing for plugins from the GitLab CI, and that's basically it. So configure auto publishing for plugins from CI. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I think that basically covers it. So doesn't seem like there's any more questions or suggestions. So as usual, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you found something useful. Again, I think I'm gonna do a short-ish 10-15 minutes video on how the whole Graffiti works as a end user once all of this is done, instead of a stream and just publish it, just to show you how to do that. Because I am, as I said, you know, you've seen my reaction. I was very excited about it, and I am really excited to see if it would work out as, you know, in as simple as I think it would. But so far it seems like, yeah, it's shaping up to be a really nice and simple framework that can allow us to build backends and GraphQL APIs in seconds for our future streams. So that's a good thing. Right, so once again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your continued support. If you want to chat about anything, just join our Discord. I'm almost always there. I'm more than happy to talk about any of that. That's it from my side. Thank you for watching, guys, and I see you on Saturday for BxJS Weekly. Bye!